have a homework system that really works for your child with ADHD and also the other kids that don't have ADHD, I'd like you to please, if you don't mind, contribute in the group, put forward, submit your ideas that really help engineer a peaceful transition from school to home. Remember, children have just started back at school, and it can take a lot of time to get back into things, and there's a lot of energy to get back and just listen in class and sit for long periods of time, and then have to come home and reinvent another lesson at home. So instead of having this battleground that teachers and parents have, you want to translate not a battleground but into a success story for better grades later on in the term. Children with ADHD have a lot of difficulty writing things down, remembering things. So make sure that the assignments and work that needs to be done, you know about them. And that can often be a communication that you can have with the teacher to make sure that there's a clear idea what your child needs to do. You know, your child will also need to have a good structure at home, a place at home to work that is comfortable, that's easy, you know, section off an area where your child's going to work. And then, of course, pack away afterwards. You don't want to have that family space to be crowded and interfered with and overlapping with the homework. And then, of course, you know, the time your child spends. Dedicate a little bit of time. You know, if your child knows that they're going to have to come home, spend a bit of time, don't necessarily use the word homework. It can be just a time, you know, making it interesting, helping your child understand that the work is just an extension of their knowledge and help their self-esteem. Children often are kind of given hours and time that they've got to sit down and work. Sometimes you've got to wait until your child is a little bit more relaxed, come home, have a bit of a break. Parents often have a difficulty, of course, they're working from home. When do you get your child to start working? You don't want to wait until too late. A problem that I often find for parents at work, that they've got to try and sit down and do work at the end of a day and trying to do homework at 5:30 while parents are trying to bath younger children, cook supper, they exhausted themselves. That's not such a good time. Think about a strategy around that. You know, you might know that this is a pain point. Think ahead. Don't try and be too reactive about it. Think about how you're going to overcome that problem. You know it's going to happen. And sometimes if there's this constant emotional reaction and difficulty at that time with work, think ahead. Think about how you're going to overcome that problem. Some parents get a tutor in to help with homework. Get granny, grandpa, older brothers and sisters can help. You know, taking turns as parents, you know, kind of like a bit of a relay race. You don't always have to do it yourself. You know, when you run out of energy, hand it on to the next person. Get a child to break up that homework, so-called the Pomodoro system. You know, it's been scientifically shown that with any amount of work, just think about any task that you're doing or lecture that you've attended. If you start off, you remember the things in the beginning, you remember the things at the end. So if you break down homework into short little chunks, they call it chunking, 20 minutes, 5-minute break, 20 minutes, 5-minute break, you therefore create lots of beginnings and ends. And as a result, you're going to remember more. Make things fun. You know when your child's reached their limit. Back off. Rather, you've maybe necessarily lost the battle, not lost the war. Come back and have another session later on or at a later stage or even the next day. You know, it can be a conflict. Some parents are not necessarily suited to do the homework themselves. You don't want your relationship with your child to be interfered with. Sometimes getting someone else to help you makes a big difference. Having it done at aftercare. Maybe having your child spend a bit longer at school to do that homework clubs. That often helps. There are lots of connections, lots of young tutors that are looking for opportunities to work. Even if you get them in for a couple of days a week, that often helps. I find that makes such a big difference. Making sure your child's well fed, they've had a snack. use the when and then approach. You can say, when you do this, then you can go maybe and spend a bit of time on your tablet, phone, whether it's a game or TV. There is a payoff. Have a system where you know what's going to happen. I know myself, I've got to have a system, a routine, and you gain a lot of confidence and a lot of reassurance. And it makes yourself more secure when you know what's going to happen. Don't wait until you've got to think about what you've got to do. So I think, with homework, a lot of it is making sure that, you have things well planned, have files for things that are about to be done, need to be done and completed. A sense of achievement's great to be able to have a look at that. When you finish the homework, pack it away in the bag. So habits take time to develop. Just think about your own parents and the work ethic that they instilled in you and I when we were younger. These are things that often you keep even today. So a lot of it is repetition. Be consistent. Try to remain emotionally distant from that kind of pain point. Children, the thought of homework's like waving a red flag to a bull. Homework is seen as a kind of almost like a punishment for some children with learning difficulties. They need different techniques. They need different strategies. Talk to teachers. Teachers are amazing resources and sources of information on how to do work. And, that's what they do for a living. They can give you amazing tips. There are lots of audio-visual ways in which you can break things up. Talking about a subject, getting a child to add up certain things while you're cooking. How much of an ingredient do you need for this and that? It can make things fun. Younger children are so much more amenable to having, more of a practical example. And then, of course, older children, how much reading should they do? Getting them to do too much reading at one go sometimes can be overwhelming. Breaking it up, even spending 5 or 10 minutes a weekend can help. That also maybe can be used as a kind of a little bit of a break during the week rather than having to do it all at one go. So I'd like you please just to share your experiences from a pediatrician's point of view, medication. Children that have ADHD, you want that medication to have some impact in the afternoon, making sure that the medicine doesn't wear off too soon, getting that work to be done as soon as possible at when they first come home from school. And then, of course, at weekends, sometimes short-acting medicine helps for short periods that need to be utilized for assignment completion, projects, and study. So think about, the junior school time. Homework shouldn't be a time where it's a battleground. If you feel that there is a lot of anxiety, there may be a reason why your child's having difficulty. Maybe their medication needs to be sorted out better. Maybe they need to get to bed earlier the night before, they're tired. And sometimes children with learning problems need to be looked at. They have fine motor problems, they're tired, they need to sit comfortably, breaks. So these are things that, can make a big difference if we think about things, discuss them. I often find discussing those issues during a consultation makes a big difference in strategizing medication, adjusting things, exercise, looking forward to different, excursions, little sort of rewards, whether it's a game or PlayStation game or playing games with parents, makes a big difference. Please share your experiences.